Hello all, this is part 3 of the studio assignment on portrait drawing in charcoal. We're going to continue our illustration that we've been working on, making sure to protect underneath our drawing hand with a piece of paper that prevents much smudging onto the drawing surface. I'm going to start on the eye I haven't finished yet and start laying out the line work and then starting to build in the values. Using a charcoal pencil and a white chalk pencil in small detailed areas helps keep control. And you draw much like a graphite pencil at this point. Using a blending tool whenever needed to tighten up some tones inside those small areas is excellent. Isolating important line work is good to do. Overdoing it could create more of a cartoonish look, so you're going to need to balance that out. Now, as we move into the larger areas, we're going to continue building the skin tone on the forehead and merging it into the rest of the face that's already been developed. So a good way to start here is a white base of chalk because I have a lighter toned skin, and the lighting in the photograph asks for a lighter tone to start. I will buff that in. And then I'm going to map out, again with the black charcoal pencil, some soft hatch-like shading marks that are going to respond to the darker tones and mid-tones spread throughout the forehead area. So again, I'm just responding to what the photograph is suggesting. And you're going to see how I'm going to lift the brow of the eyebrow out to get the bone structure there in a second. This will ensure three-dimensional form is given and also help create a nice soft texture on the face. Don't be afraid if you get a little too dark off the bat. You can always compensate with a little bit more white chalk to balance the values out. And you just keep layering, adding more light material where lighter tones are needed, more black charcoal where values need to be enhanced a little bit darker, and of course, blending and softening as you go. Your drawing needs to evolve. It won't all happen in one shot. Now we're going to move on to drawing hair. That's one of the last major components of this drawing. So like before in the last section, I'm going to outline and create all my loose hair movements that seem important for me to develop first. So my daughter here has some curly waves, and I'm going to build my values by building more line work together and then compensate with some white chalk coming back and blending out together to create some additional volume. When my forehead meets my hair, I noticed I needed to create a darker range of value there. But the important thing here is when you're doing the hair is play the line work in to show the movement of the hair. That's super important. And then building the materials together will help create the texture you need. So again, creating a nice smart line work here is very important. Also notice how I'm going to overlay my hair over my skin to help make sure that there's a nice connection between the hair and the face. These movement lines I'm creating are not going to be necessarily noticed in their raw form here in the end. They're here to help me and steer me in the correct directions as I do bring more charcoal and chalk in so I can create the right movement of the hair. I'm actually going to use a black charcoal stick for the first time in the drawing now because there's a lot of dark value and like large clumps of it on that right side. So I'm going to do a larger fill with this. So again, I am using the roadmap of those lines I brought in to help me bring in this black charcoal. It's a messier material to work with here. It's a richer dark right off the bat, as you can see. But again, I'm just going to use my finger to smudge the movement in, following those lines I created. I'm actually going to add a little bit in some of my other areas to create some deeper darks. And then I'm going to counter with white chalk stick or pencil in the areas that I left to be lighter highlights. It's going to allow me to create some nice blends from dark to light and enhance some of my details over all that dark I just brought in. The more layering you do and the subtle blending you do with your finger is just going to create more volume in the hair. Over blending though with like real firmly can create too many solid chunks and you don't see enough loose volume in the hair. Right here I'm spreading some white into this area before I complete the work. It's going to help create good blends, just like I did when I did the skin. Again, expressively working my black charcoal pencil, making sure to protect areas with a piece of paper. There's a good move there. This is where my part is, so it's very important that I create a distinct part in the hair there. Pulling the darks from tight clumps of dark to light tones as it spreads out. So I'm retaining a lot of the white of the paper here until it's absolutely necessary for me to blend. And you'll notice that you're going to also leave a little more line work right near the skin of the forehead unblended, so you see strands of hair as opposed to like a clump of hair. I'll have to come back in the very final stage of my drawing to touch up any final tones and forms of the face, and I'll do that in my last video, which will be finalizing touch-ups. As I work through, I notice other areas that need more attention, so I can always go to there. But watch as I build the darker values here now from the part. It helps bring the top and the side of the hair together nicely. And then using my finger to do some soft blending. I'll finish up this area now with the bow, just buffing in a very lightly shaded areas of soft cloud-like texture to create a very simplistic bow. Finally, go throughout the rest of the drawing now, and the next steps will be to do a final review and adjustments on my work. Hope that helped.